The Truman Show was a prediction, a warning, about reality television becoming too big, too much, too embraced into our zeitgeist, replacing entertainment that was obviously scripted with entertainment that is obviously scripted, even if we choose to believe differently. For fictional stories to work, it is essential for a suspension of disbelief, to believe in the impossible. For reality-based entertainment, it requires to believe in only the believable as spontaneous, organic, real, no matter how pre-planned by its unseen puppet masters just outside of frame. As long as it feels convincing, we will gladly trade for it with our loyalty. The Truman Show is one big lie, disguised as a beautifully crafted world, a lie that can only succeed with the compliance of its audience, as well as its cast members. Dissent is not allowed. Any hints of a resistance are ferreted out through a network of surveillance and on-the-ground agents. Sounds a lot like modern despotic governments, because that's exactly what it is. Today, I'm going to discuss the dystopian world of The Truman Show, not just through the eyes of Truman, but his cohabitants, and the world in general. Why? Because that's what the voters of a recent poll wanted more than any other. This is where I say, the alternative theories mentioned within may cause anxiety, rage, and disbelief, but that's why you're here, I hope. And kindly consider leaving a like, share, or subscribe if you enjoyed this video. To experience a world more idyllic or beautiful than it really is a small piece of what makes utopia. It's not just a perceived benefit to the individual or society, or the superficial aesthetics. It's the unquestioned belief that everything couldn't be better. The first rule of utopia, however, is that there is no utopia. It's a no place, non-existent. What gives utopia its longevity is the obedience or willful participation of its subjects. Everyone keeps to the script, sticks to their lines, and stays in their lanes. You'll see this in real-life hermit kingdoms or in playful kingdoms. It isn't the happiest place on earth for its low prices and manageable crowd sizes. Visitors, citizens, and subjects alike can't ask too many questions of the overlord, who may be literal or metaphoric. This takes us to the illusion of free will and self-determination within a utopia. If you can't upset the delicate balance of utopian society, sometimes policed, are you truly free? Is more freedom to be had in an advanced, more enlightened society? In many people's eyes, the answer is no. But I'm here to talk about dystopia, utopia's underbelly, its reflection minus the facade. In film, it's common to see dystopian worlds depicted as a pretty miserable place from our perspective. Sometimes the characters deal with conflicts within the world rather than fighting it. In others, the characters openly fight the system. Dystopia doesn't always mean a terrible looking place. The Truman Show shares some characteristics with other films that show a world that's pleasurable, nostalgic, or one without poverty and hunger. Logan's Run, WandaVision, and Rollerball are such examples. Like The Truman Show, each of them features either a dome city or a world fixated on what happens inside a dome. Being an inhabitant comes with many benefits, with little said understanding how to behave within this utopia. That's exactly why it's dystopian. Through Truman's eyes. Truman doesn't yet know his life is one big production. His life under the dome is built on coercion and dissuasion. From an arranged marriage to a career selling fake insurance policies to fake people, any attempts of genuine individualism is dealt with rather harshly. The show's producer, Christoph, otherwise the Tyrant God King, captures Truman's authentic emotions, bottling them for sale, sort of speaking. But Truman's actions that provoke emotions are carefully guided, planned, and predetermined. The world is Truman's. Truman is the show. As long as Truman lives and breathes within the dome, the show goes on. Like other dystopian dome cities, there are limited passages in and out of the dome. Only a few have access. Only a few may leave. It is heavily guarded. Exiting the self-professed utopia threatens the fantasy and the lies it was built on. This is why Sea Haven employs many means of dissuading Truman from leaving. The barriers are psychological, physical, even financial.
We have car payments, but we're just going to walk away from our financial obligations?
Other than leading Truman to artificially made seascapes, reminding him how beautiful Sea Haven is, his city deploys overt, in-your-face propaganda. There is the fallen spotlight blamed on an airplane. The radio host makes a commentary blaming air travel. He sounds like he's practically speaking to Truman directly. That's because he is. Truman stops at a magazine stand, and we see the first hints of pushing Truman towards fatherhood. It falls in line, perhaps in order of other magazines that already reflect his home life: cooking, gardening, and golf. You can see some of the ideas in John Carpenter's They Live. Fast forward to Merrill, who is strangely reading an oversized children's book, another example of foreshadowing plans. At his office, Truman has to hear a very obtuse, self-congratulating boast, really stressing how great Sea Haven is as the best place on Earth. It's well known, this was another example of keeping Truman from going astray. You don't have to see anything more than that. It's what makes the film so interesting. These messages of dystopia are not always in your face, although this is. What else to highlight in the subtext? The planet's top town. They didn't narrow it down to the United States or North America or the hemispheres. It's the entire world. The message must be unified, no doubt, no second guessing. There is no room for differing opinions anywhere in the world, including Fiji. Fiji is Truman's escape from Sea Haven. His secret portrait of Sylvia is akin to Winston's diary in 1984. But unlike Winston, who found escape from surveillance in his alcove, Truman has none from surveillance cameras. His whereabouts, his secret fantasies, are laid bare for billions to see. Fiji is not just a place, it is an idea. It only ends by shutting down the show. It begins with Truman plotting to leave his wife Meryl. Truman is threatening the sanctity of marriage. This should horrify Christoph and his need to peddle merchandise in an advertising-friendly show. Another example of propaganda is xenophobia. It's not enough to praise Sea Haven, but to lambaste everywhere else. There is a headline of a neurologist moving to Sea Haven under the title, "Who Needs Europe?" The dismissal of anything foreign, events happening over there, is a distraction at best, a threat at worst to a dictatorship. Assuming everyone is an actor and there is no neurologist, I'm very curious what this headline tries to tell us. Is it foreshadowing of an upcoming chapter in Truman's life? Are the producers anticipating losing control of the narrative and prepared to blame mental illness or injury? Just moments later, Truman bumps into his television father, who snuck onto the set. Suddenly, the world gets in Truman's way. The facade of Sea Haven breaks down as quickly as Truman strays out of his way. The world Truman sees is incomplete, or worse, illusionary. Truman runs to confide in Marlin as he is taking his time stocking vending machines. Truman makes a comment about how some who follow him look like regular people. This is curious, likely coincidental, reference to the invasion of the Body Snatchers, identifying people into two groups, the normies and the antagonists. Like Invasion, the antagonists don't show spontaneous emotions. When Marlin takes Truman to the beautiful sunset, it can be thought as the end of the first act. The characters have been established. Truman begins to unravel the mysteries of Sea Haven, and he shares the ultimate goal of the story, to find an exit. However, the story has to raise its stakes. That comes soon next. This is Christoph's show. All direction, plot points. What happens next is up to him. And Christoph wants Truman to father a baby. The announcement is made rather plainly. like looking forward to ordering lobster next time you're having steak. The plans are made out in the open for the world to hear, and it's absorbed without emotion or fanfare. It's a personal pet project for Christoph. The film doesn't discuss the ethical problems straight on. No one asks what the actress playing Meryl thinks. Who will rightfully claim custody over the baby? Will it be Truman and Meryl, or the studio? Is this Christoph's plan to replace Truman to guarantee another 30 years of showtime? Just as when it looks Truman would give in, thanks to more propaganda from his television, he's given another reminder how fake his world is. Before I get into the power of belief or disbelief, I wanted to point out the many contradictions the best place on Earth has. In Truman's eyes, it's a place that has forest fires, nuclear plant meltdowns, job insecurities, that gets conveniently forgotten with a new hire. Broken elevators, and let's not overlook their homeless problem. The point is, even in this microcosm of a dystopian society, it survives on daily propaganda, always twisting the truth for the sake of longevity, in this case to keep Truman inside the dome. Christoph may be pulling the strings from above, but Truman is the heart of the society below. The stability of Sea Haven begins to shake to its core the less Truman believes. It starts very little, with people getting in Truman's way, to the breakdown of transportation, a nuclear meltdown, and finally, nature itself contests Truman's free will. A side note, the travel agency is another place of contradiction. It should be called a no-travel agency, because Truman ended up going nowhere. Remember, this office only exists just in case Truman wandered inside. The extra was even caught by surprise, entering the front office with her makeup towel. On the surface, it could be argued that Christoph was attempting murder by throwing everything his weather machine could at Truman. Christoph is like Zeus, in his final moments of relevance, when he was down to his last few followers. Metaphorically, the fantastical powers of the Dome Society were evaporating. The weather itself was one giant propaganda machine that too had waning influence. Reaching the end of the world of Sea Haven, Christoph speaks from the heavens with one last plea. It is a plea to keep the show running, even with its fakery and illusions. Like a fallen god from pagan lore, Christoph is begging for his existence. In doing so, he throws more promises, more doublespeak, more propaganda. He offers safety in exchange for Truman's liberties. Truman gives his answer by saying goodbye and steps out. Through the eyes of cast members. The cast of The Truman Show are willing agents in perpetuating their own dystopia. Sure, it was a 30-year gig, maybe stable income, but at what cost? The extras have similarities to the human-looking robots in Westworld, another make-believe city. The anonymous cast begin with their marks, go on their pre-planned routines, and only interact if Truman happens to cross their path. It may be coincidental, but the human actors have much in common with Westworld. They're stuck in a loop, and unable to break out of their programming. They can't think on their own unless it's in the script. Otherwise, they're emotionless, incapable of handling spontaneity.
Anything happen?
No.
Push a robot out of their programming, they malfunction. Push a human actor out of their script, they have an emotional breakdown.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mount Nicaragua, no artificial sweet.
Let's talk about Marlin, Truman's best friend. It's mentioned twice, where Marlin left Sea Haven, including one where Marlin, as a child, had pneumonia and missed school for a month. A casual theory posits that this was a ploy to get him out of the dome for a vacation with his family. What if he's being truthful? That cast members, including younger actors, have to endure threats to their health for ratings. This was something that haunted Marlin. His job could kill him. It was mentioned that Marlin left the island hauling chickens and he traveled all over. If you read the film's wiki page, you'll read some unsaid backstory about the character, where Noah Emmerich is reported as saying, "My character is in a lot of pain. He feels really guilty about deceiving Truman. He's had a serious drug addiction for many years, been in and out of rehab." Very little of this is shown in the finished film, but several deleted scenes depict Lewis actively expressing guilt over Truman's situation. We see Marlon always gripping a six-pack in his spare time. I took it as a comedic quirk, but yes, primarily its means of product placement.
That is a beer.
Was this a clue in front of us all along of Marlon's addiction? How he dusts off Truman's question about where he's been hauling chickens makes me feel he would rather not talk about it. We can easily guess he wasn't hauling chickens. So was the actor playing Marlon in rehab? By the way, that line for Kaiser was a shameless plug seen earlier. If Truman was trapped in Sea Haven, so equally was his wife, not his wife, Meryl. Bound by an arranged marriage for money and fame, she had to live and share a bed with a man she did not love, perhaps did not even like. Worse, at the whims of Christoph, expected to bear a child. Depending on how the contract was written, may even concede custody to the studio. We can't overlook that as the worldwide audience knew of Truman's true love for Sylvia, more so his desire to leave Sea Haven for her, so did the actress playing Meryl. Talk about an embarrassment to her character and to her craft. Her place in the show was hanging by a thread. All those years committing to the show could be easily thrown away, just like her pretend marriage. Meanwhile, Meryl had to struggle every day, as if she didn't know the truth. However, Meryl cracked before getting that far, performing in her final moments in fear of violence. Meryl's emotional instability was likely not days, but years in the making.
How could anyone expect me to carry on under these conditions? It's unprofessional!
To the producers of The Truman Show, all cast members are easily expendable. They can be cut out, erased, and quickly replaced. The principles of the Overlord will not be compromised. Through the eyes of the world. The Truman Show has references with rollerball. The world is obsessed with a gladiator game, a violent sport meant to distract the masses from realizing their loss of individual freedoms. The world is governed by mega corporations that unite the world through television, while the populace is obsessed with the sport and ultimately its hero, who is both used by and feared by the corporations. However, there is no evidence that the society in The Truman Show is under duress, though an argument can be made that there has been a great drop in productivity. I do say there is a twist. We're led to believe that the show is extremely approved of by its overwhelming popularity. This is in contrast to the activism against the show, represented by Lauren, who played the extra Sylvia. The surprise comes in the end when the world cheers at Truman's escape, which abruptly cancels the show. To me, that's the twist. The world had long realized there was something wrong with the show and with society tolerating this abuse, but was powerless to do anything about it, other than to root for Truman. Like Rollerball, the audience stood and celebrated the rise of an individual over a dystopian kingdom by simply standing on his own 2 feet. Let me know in the comments below, what would you have done differently if you were Truman? This is Mr. G of Synergy saying, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Check out other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching.